we're in something new. We've not been here before. Much has been lost, but we're finding out more about what matters most, our purpose, and whether we'll drift further apart or draw closer. Together. This series of podcasts is intended to bring some perspective in this time of great change. It's unrehearsed and largely unedited. It's just people telling their stories about how they're managing right now. Some are helpful, others are just fun, but they're all intended to foster one thought. In a time when we're being asked to stay apart, there are ways that we can stay together. And today I bring you Jan Koch.
I'm Jan Koch. I'm the CTO at WP Feedback and the host of various summits in the WordPress space. I've started using WordPress in 2012, being a business consultant, and I've since became self-employed for like 8 years. Recently joined WP Feedback and just doing my thing with these summits.
Have you had a great big shift in your work, the way that you work? Were you prior to this pretty much a remote worker anyway?
I was a remote worker for like the past 6 years. The big shift was that my wife wasn't. Right.
Okay. So that leads us nicely into what we want to talk about today, because it is in fact something to do with you and your wife that you want to discuss. So tell us what it is.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful story, actually. We are expecting our first child in June, the baby girl. And she's now forced to be at home because she's in the health industry. She's a trained nurse. So I'm really thankful that she's pregnant right now, that she doesn't have to work at the front lines right now in this dangerous situation for nurses. Kudos to everybody who's doing this, by the way. That's really deserving the highest respect. Yeah, so basically this situation right now gives us plenty of time to go through this time together through the first pregnancy. So at first we were a bit worried if all the preparation courses, the training from the delivery nurses on how to give birth and how to go through this time well, basically, if those will happen. And they are now taken online. And there was a lot of insecurity when COVID-19 became a thing and nobody really knew what was happening. But now we just see the beauty in both of us being home, being able to just talk to each other, go through the process each other, receiving new packages every day with stuff for the baby. So just a little light in dark times, if you will.
Yeah. So in a normal situation, if this had been playing out in normal times, in inverted commas, your wife would have been probably working until the 11th hour, just turning up to work, leaving the house and then coming home, and the normal stuff would have applied and you probably wouldn't have seen much of each other. Well, certainly less of each other.
Well, actually, she weren't allowed to work. So when she's pregnant in the job that she's in, she immediately had to stay home. But that still is a very good thing in these times that she doesn't have to work. And it's just, for us, it's giving us more time because we don't have so many other people coming in. You have these baby parties and then you have friends coming over to see how she's doing. And then you have family coming over to see how she's doing. And while those are all beautiful things and fun experiences, it can be a bit much at times.
It is a time in which certainly in the situation that I was in when we had our children, there was a lot of family members making appearances, checking how you are and everything. And mostly that was a great thing, but it sounded like you perhaps sort of resolute to the fact that that's just not going to be the case now.
Yeah, there's no way that this is going to happen anytime soon, I think. And while it's not the best thing in the world, of course, it gives my wife and myself a good opportunity to really be present with each other these days and to be reminded constantly of what we have and what a gift it is to give birth to a new living. Even when like the world is breaking down around you, you always have this feeling that there is something good happening. and that you are always reminded about these small wins. As we said in the conversation before the recording, there are always these small little things you can be thankful for and you can be happy about. And I can't ask for more than my wife doing good and pregnancy doing good. So that's the most beautiful thing to me.
One of the things which was a feature of life in the preamble to our children being born was it's like this flurry of shopping, this kind of the requirement to go out and get items, be that for their clothes or something for the room that they're going to occupy or whatever it might be. Yeah. I'm guessing that that's more tricky than it ever was, or is life in Germany such that you can more or less carry on as normal?
No, we don't carry on as normal. We were lucky that we ordered all the most important things before hell broke loose. So we bought the furniture for her room in January and we bought some clothes in January. So we had this shopping experience of going out and going through all these baby stores and having all these cute little items at hand and just buying way too much probably. But now we have fallen back to online shopping because really that's all we can do. So we have packages coming every day, which, good gracious, so much waste. So many packages that are way too big, especially from Amazon. So yeah, that's how it is. But it's always fun to, you always have Christmas every day right now because we have so many packages coming on. And we don't remember what we ordered sometimes because it's just so exciting for us. And it's just another small win if we open a package and something beautiful is in there.
Yeah, that's really nice. One of the things that I've kind of likened it to, everything just seems so much more calm. Now, clearly, that's nonsense in some respects. There are people's lives who are anything but calm. What I mean by calm is that we're all in the same space. We're in my family situation, at least anyway, we're all in the same house. We can't go outside. We're disallowed from going outside by order of the government and common sense. And so everything's just taking much longer to do. So, we're taking a lot of time to prepare food, just not worrying about it. It's not a melee of, in our situation, it's very often quick, make the food so that the kids can go to whatever thing they've got coming next. And life had a certain pace to it, which has completely disappeared. Yes. And so I don't mean to make light by saying life has calmed, because obviously that's not the case for many, many people. But in my particular situation, and perhaps in your particular situation as well, that there is a sort of calmness about being forced to occupy one house for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think it takes a bit of a mindset shift to see these calmness and to see it as a good thing. If you ask my wife, she craves social interactions much more than I do. So she suffers a bit more. Because also she's used to being with other persons in her job. She had to take care of patients and she had co-workers and stuff like that. And I've been sitting in front of the computer for the past 6 years. But we have 2 dogs and a horse and quite a big property. And not having to have any appointments, any going out with friends, any people coming over gives us so much more time to schedule how we play with the dogs, how we train them, how we care for the horse, how we do the garden and stuff like that. And it's always, right now, it's really our own rhythm instead of other people dictating when we have to do what.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned things like the garden. My garden has largely been neglected for many years. We gave it the minimum of care to make sure that the grass went back to a decent level and didn't grow too much. But that's become a bit of a thing. It's it's a nice project. We've found all sorts of ways of using up our time. And when I say using up our time, I don't mean that frivolously. I mean using up our time in a useful way. Walls have been painted. The garden is going to be a lot nicer when this is all finished. And I think that's a really important thing to do in order to keep yourself even and balanced, is to locate the things that are in your control that maybe you haven't occupied or done much with, and make them purposeful and make them become important for a bit.
Yeah, beautifully said.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hope I can carry this forward. My wonder, and I don't know which way this is going to go, but my wonder is how this will all fall out when we return to something akin to normality. In my case, the analogy might be, does the garden just go back to what it was? Do we suddenly put the kids back onto their regimen of clubs and therefore pauperize the meal times suddenly? Or do we learn something from this and think, actually, those meal times were important? The clubs less so. The garden was important. all of those kind of things. I don't know. What do you think?
I hope that life will not be as fast as it was, but I have very little confidence in humans learning from these things. Just based on our history, I think we're always setting out to, but we have a hard time actually implementing what we learned. There will hopefully be some lesson in valuing time with each other more than being busy for the purpose of doing something.
At a time when we're staying apart, creative ways of staying together are so important. I hope that you found something of use here, a new idea, or perhaps just a smile. Stay safe, stay together.